So I'm here at the State Board of Elections to go over these new voting machines that voters are going to find when they head to the polls just in a few short weeks. And I am joined by the State Board of Elections spokesman, John Conklin, and also Robert Donovan, the co-chair of the New York Democratic Lawyers Council. They're going to help me here and show me how it's done. And I have filled out this ballot, and just for everyone's sake, I have filled out with all X's. I am completely an a-partisan individual. And had I done this actually in the real setting, I would have done it in this privacy booth. Is that correct?
Right.
That's where people are going to find it. So that is instead of the regular voting booth where the curtain used to get pulled. So
Correct.
people should be expecting to see this.
They should see this or a version of this. They may have like a long table with a three-sided screen around that they would sit. It may not be covered. Each county has purchased a different item, so it'll be something like that.
Okay, and when people show up at their firehouse, church, school, wherever it was that they usually
Their
vote,
polling place.
it will be the exact same thing that they're used to. So when you come in, you will see the volunteers and they will sign you into the
Right.
voting booth, correct? Okay.
Yeah, they'll come to the poll book, you'll sign your name, then you'll be handed a paper ballot like this. You go mark it, you put it in your privacy sleeve, very important.
Okay.
So we maintain the secrecy of the ballot. Then you as the voter take it up to the scanner.
And I just put it
feed
right in here?
through, just push it through on the left side.
So the voter would do this, him or herself, is that correct?
Yeah, this is exactly
Oh,
what
I
the voter will
see,
do.
I see.
You push it in until it takes it,
Huh, look at that.
and it'll tell you
Ah.
one or more ambiguous marks detected on the ballot. Choose correct.
I'm a bad voter. Okay, well, so assuming that that does happen, what in fact would you have to do?
You would the machine would make the alert like that. The poll worker would come over and say what did the message you get was. It said ambiguous ballot. Then they would look at your ballot and see if you're outside the line or whatever. If you needed a new ballot, they would give you a brand new ballot and you would go back, mark it again. And it depends. If the issue was like this, it's an ambiguous mark, maybe you straight outside a box or outside of a voting square, versus if you overvoted, then it would be the same situation. You get a message that says overvote, then you would decide whether you want to cast the ballot or not. If you choose to get the ballot back, they give you a new ballot, you go back, you mark it again, and then you return to the scanner.
Okay, let's assume that this was okay. It would have just fed it right into here,
Right.
and it would have taken it from me, is that correct?
Correct.
And then what would happen? It would just say, thanks very much, goodbye?
Much as when you put it there and it took it into the machine, it would say casting ballot, and then it would say ballot cast successfully on this screen.
And that's all I have to do?
And then you're done voting.
Amazing.
You
And how
hand the
long do we
privacy
think
screen
this is
back
going
to
to
the-
take?
Well, I think the thing is that it's new, so just the fact that it's new, it might take a little bit longer, but I mean, it will take you as long as it takes you to fill out that piece of paper, basically.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about why this is happening, and Rob, weigh in now if you would. It's actually a long time in coming of this change.
It is a long time coming. In the aftermath of Florida in 2000, Congress passed something called the Help America Vote Act, which mandated that all voters be able to, in addition to other things, be able to vote independently and in privacy. So for that reason, the old lever machines, which were not usable for handicapped people, had to be replaced. And although New York is the last state in the union to go with this change, to change voting technologies, all 49 states besides New York have done this already, that's really allowed us to learn from some of the mistakes that other states have made. So other states have gone to touchscreen, computerized voting that there have been a lot of problems with. And we have been able to kind of watch as we've argued and walked through this process to learn from these other mistakes and go with really what's become the gold standard nationwide for voting technology.
Now, John, some people have already seen these. You've piloted them in 46 different counties?
Yes, last year. The general election and the primary election last year, these machines were used all over the state in a bunch of different places. Some counties used it as their only voting machine. Some counties chose to put it in a single municipality or an election district or something like that, but 46 counties total used it.
Now, most of our upstate viewers are actually going to be seeing this machine that we showed them earlier.
Right.
But there's also another one, this one here, and that's going to be used in New York City and the city of Albany and the city of Schenectady, is that correct?
Right, and Nassau County, Rockland, and Erie as well.
Okay, so it will look like one of these two things, very different from those old lever voting machines. Personally, I'm a little nostalgic for them, I'm sorry. I remember going into them with my parents. You mentioned something earlier about overvote. Rob, could you talk a little bit about that and what that means? Because there's been some concern. This machine will not actually tell you if you, other than me, who obviously I could couldn't manage to get inside the lines. It would not spit it out if you voted for more than one person, for example, in some cases.
Well, my understanding is, look, we want everybody to vote, and if you happen to vote for more than one candidate, the machine will let you know.
Okay.
Okay, so if you vote for more than one candidate, which is called overvoting, the machine will notify you, and it will tell you which office you've overvoted for. So it might say, you voted for 2 candidates for state senator, right?
But it won't reject it. It will still accept the ballot.
Well, it'll give you the option. Okay, you'll have the option to cast the ballot as is, and then all the votes for all of the other offices will still count. Okay, the vote for the one office where you voted for too many candidates won't count, but you also have the option to get the ballot returned to you, go back to your registration table, and ask for a replacement ballot.
Okay, and John, I mean, we saw a lot of messes with voting in the 2000 presidential election with hanging chads and all sorts of problems. I mean, how is the State Board of Elections prepared to deal with legal challenges to voting, and what will they do if, in fact, they get a ballot that has an overvote when you're going back through them after the fact?
Well, the machines will be tally based on what the voting is that day, but really the process for challenging and all the rest of that in New York State hasn't changed at all. We still recanvass the machines shortly after the election. The ballots are all looked at. If there's a question, there can be a 3% audit done in close elections. They audit the results of the election. If there's a discrepancy, then the audit can be expanded to 10%, then 12%, then it goes to 100%. So you could potentially have a 100% hand recount in a case if there's a discrepancy in the election.
And there is actually, we should mention, a legal challenge in Nassau County to these machines because of some concern regarding their veracity and their effectiveness. But it is going forward as expected, the preparation for all these machines to be used in the primary.
Nassau County has told us that they're proceeding along a parallel track. They're pursuing litigation, trying to get the state law declared unconstitutional, but they're also doing everything necessary to use the scanning machines on Election Day for primary day this year.
And just to finish up, I mean, Rob, do you expect that there's been concern that people are going to be, I don't know, there'll be mass hysteria, people will not have I mean, this is a very unusual looking thing, particularly if you might be elderly and more used to voting on the lever machine, that it would be problematic?
Well, let's take a look at the ballot. I mean, this is a ballot that a lot of people will be familiar with. If you've ever voted absentee, it's very similar to the absentee ballot that you already get. That having been said, these are a new way of tabulating our votes, but the state board and a lot of the county boards have been doing a really good job with voter education and voter outreach. There's a great website, www.vote-ny.com, where you can put in your county and see a video demonstration of how to vote for the specific machine that's used in your county. So change always is a challenge, but a lot of people across the state, whether it's the Board of Elections, locally or here in Albany, or civic groups in New York City, for instance, I know a lot of places are hosting demonstrations of these new voting machines so that voters can become familiar with them and be prepared come Election Day.
Well, it's going to be very interesting. I want to thank you very much, both of you guys, for joining me, Rob Donovan.
If I could just make something very clear before
Please
you close
do,
up.
John.
The website he mentioned is our website. It's our
Yes.
training website and our voter education website. It's not hosted by any particular party. So, but it is,
apolitical.
yes, it's
Yep.
apolitical. It's a Board of Elections website. So the voters can go there and find out exactly what machine they'll see, and training videos are there as well.
Thank you very much, John. I really appreciate it. Thanks very much, everybody.